Sardonyx. Alexandra.
Don't forget about me!
Sugilite.
Hey, Steven, wanna see something cool? Got it, baby!
Sugilite has joined the battle.
Meet Sugilite.
Toon?
Meet Sugilite. She's the monstrosity of a fusion created when Garnet and Amethyst sync up. After her debut, she barely got any screen time, but she definitely left her mark. As to why she barely showed up after her debut episode, or went totally mute when she did show up, may have something to do with her voice actor being Nicki Minaj.
She's not actually in this episode. Do we still have to pay her? Yes? Fair enough.
The in-show reason for Sugilite's absence is the fact that Garnet benched her after she went out of control. Well, besides Garnet, fusions in general don't get much screen time because they only appear when they're most needed. Sugilite's first appearance was because they needed to take down the communication hub, which would have taken all day for the gems to do individually. Her theme is one of my favourites. It highlights the differences and similarities between Amethyst's bass and drum theme and Garnet's synth bass theme. Let's start this analysis off with her physical appearance. Sugilite's phenotype seems more heavily influenced by Amethyst. Adopting a more dramatic version of Amethyst's signature purple hue, I remember seeing Sugilite and thinking, wow, this is just Amethyst on steroids. With fusions like Opal and Sardonyx, you can see a more even mix between their component gems. This isn't to say Garnet doesn't have a significant contribution. The visors, shoulder pads and duotone pants all come from her, the fingerless gloves as well. Her punk rock inspired outfit coupled with her wild untamed hair indicates a rebellious attitude. She's significantly bulkier than other fusions we see and takes on challenges with brute force rather than intellect, which is why she lost to Pearl. Can't leave out the star motifs on her pants and nail polish, which is characteristic of the crystal gems. I just like how the gem fusion designs are so simple yet so detailed. Would it be far-fetched to say some elements of her design remind me of spiders, like the arrangement of her multiple eyes, the fangs, her limbs and body sectioning? Stephen and I had the same reaction seeing her weapon for the first time. The striking head of her flail is made from Garnet's gauntlets in a prayer pose. The rope is from Amethyst's whip. It's not all aesthetics with this weapon. It has massive destructive power. As efficient as her weapon is, she still packs a heavy punch without it. I imagine if Steven Universe had more of a medieval fantasy theme, Sugilite would definitely be an ogre. Opal, maybe an elf. Let's look into her psychology. What parts of her component gems give her the traits she exhibits? In my previous video I talked about what makes Sugilite a stable fusion. You can check that out. When you toss Ruby's irrationality and Sapphire's dismissive personality into the mix of Amethyst's carefree persona, you get Sugilite does have some redeemable traits. For starters, she gets the job done and I do admire her confidence. Her first line was literally,
I forgot how great it feels to be me.
Plus you can tell she cares for Steven, even wanting to impress him, which isn't surprising as that's a sentiment all her component gems share.
It's no big deal. I don't want to keep my biggest fan waiting.
Did I make a good first impression?
Oh, Steven, we already love you.
I'm a sucker for seeing mean, intimidating people have that one person they have a soft spot for. Sugilite has a deep reluctance to unfuse, and both Garnet and Amethyst have a role in this. Garnet is already a fusion whose component gems have become immensely codependent, not wanting to stay apart for too long. Amethyst, on the other hand, found the power addictive and didn't want to let it go. Subconsciously, of course. She tried to defend Pearl after the whole Sardonyx fiasco because she could relate to not wanting to let go of the power she got with Garnet.
Don't defend her!
Speaking of Pearl, Sugilite's strained relationship with her is a resultant effect of Pearl and Amethyst's relationship. They butt heads often because of the vast difference in their personalities. If I were to classify them according to the MBTI personality types, I would say Amethyst is an ESFP and Pearl is an ISTJ. If you have no idea what this means, here's a brief overview. The MBTI is a personality test that sorts people into 16 types. It uses 4 pairs of traits: extrovert or introvert, sensing or intuitive, thinking or feeling, judging or perceiving. Your type is shown by 4 letters like ESTJ or INFP. People use it to understand themselves and others better. You can research more about it.
So why is this important again?
Well, understanding this provides insight on how they interact with others and perceive the world.
Pearl, the logistician.
As stated before, Pearl is an ISTJ, otherwise known as a logistician. Pearl is the sensible and structured hand of the crystal gems. She does a lot of the heavy-duty background work. Logisticians get right to the root of whatever is out of place and will take care of it in the most efficient manner possible.
Amethyst, the entertainer.
People with the ESFP personality type are often described as spontaneous, resourceful, and outgoing. This personality type is also referred to as the performer or the entertainer. Amethyst is right at home being the center of attention, and if she's not, then she's more than ready to put on a show to become it. ESFPs are empowered by the spotlight. Amethyst is bold and practical, but she can also be very sensitive and easily bored.
I'm bored!
You guessed it, Sugilite is also an ESFP, but a more unfiltered version. She magnifies Amethyst's personality, which is why her beef with Pearl is significantly more intense. It's important to note that individual relationships depend on many factors beyond personality types. Differing personalities may even work really well together. You know what they say, opposites attract. The same way very similar personalities may even butt heads more often. Pearl and Amethyst did have their wholesome moments. But let's look at some potential reasons Pearl and Amethyst, and by extension Sugilite, didn't quite get along. One reason is rooted in their execution of activities. Amethyst's laid-back vibe is in direct contrast to Pearl's over-analysis. In the episode Gem Glow, Steven tries to summon his weapon and goes to the crystal gems for advice. Let's just say they had very differing opinions on what is required to successfully summon a weapon.
Whoa! Did Pearl tell you the pedal thing?
Yeah, I need to practice really hard so I can dance like a tree. I think.
Listen, Steven, all that practice stuff is no fun.
Amethyst's and Sugilite's execution may be seen as reckless, but it does get the job done sometimes. Sugilite did successfully destroy the hub, but with minor casualties.
What happened to you?
Oh, just a little battle damage from our last mission.
To the dismay of Pearl. Pearl's setback with decision-making is her over-analysis of things that can be done in an instant, which Amethyst finds grating.
Amethyst, if you go around to the side and disturb them with a spin attack, and Garnet, if you move to the ceiling and strike this exact spot, then I can advance with my
Bagel sandwich!
Brilliant.
Oh hey, what do you know?
These differences usually cause them to butt heads more often than not. As much as Pearl, Amethyst and Garnet are Steven's teammates, they're also his parental figures. They quite literally raised him, and as you would imagine, their differing personalities lead them to have different parenting styles. Pearl is more of the overprotective, hands-on guardian, trying to keep him safe from the slightest harm, while also getting him to do his chores. Amethyst is what people would describe as the cool aunt who is more on board with his shenanigans. This is another potential source of conflict in scenarios where Pearl thinks Amethyst is being a bad influence, or when Amethyst thinks Pearl is smothering Steven.
I predict that you will subscribe to this channel. There's a timeline you also like and share, but that isn't set in stone because the future is like a stream of...
Thanks for your input, Sapphire.
Don't mention it.
Anyways, back to the video. Pearl is highly organised and prefers to follow stipulated procedure, while Sugilite gets her disdain for rules from Amethyst. The details of their personality are incorporated in the design choices for various aspects of their character, such as their attire, their fusion dances, and their rooms in the temple. Pearl's room is pristine and tranquil, while Amethyst's room is basically a junkyard. Even fusions are able to conjure their own rooms in the temple, which exist as long as the fusion is present. We see that with Sardonyx's room, which is the studio where she hosts her show. This goes really well with her personality. What do you think Sugilite's room would look like? Pearl has an edge over Amethyst in a number of areas, but not with social cues and overall emotional intelligence. Her fixation on facts of a matter causes her to overlook emotions involved, like when she was explaining the kindergarten to Steven, depicting it as an awful place, which is factual, but she didn't consider Amethyst's emotions, which led to one of their major fights. Remember how earlier in the video I allotted confidence to Sugilite as one of her positive traits? Well, I may not have been entirely right. Yes, on the surface, Sugilite does seem very confident, but she may be displaying a behaviour known as overcompensation. A specific example of this is when someone loudly and repeatedly proclaims how much they like themselves, or acts overly confident to mask underlying insecurities or feelings of inadequacy.
Don't get all psychological on me.
And I'll explain why I think this is the case. Sugilite amplifies many aspects of Amethyst's personality. This includes her insecurities.
You think you're something? You ain't nothing!
This line captures Amethyst's feelings of insecurity and jealousy toward Pearl, which are expressed through Sugilite's aggressive demeanor.
Pearl, Pearl, Pearl! You know I can hear you! I'm sorry I'm not like Pearl with her fancy form and her clean room with no monsters in it. I'm more like Pearl now. Isn't it wonderful? I feel practically perfect.
Sugilites also project some of Amethyst's insecurities. Projection involves criticizing a trait in another person that they themselves possess or have possessed. They are deflecting attention away from their own insecurities.
Maybe you're just too little.
Amethyst was made in the prime kindergarten, but came out defective, causing her to be smaller and potentially weaker than the average quartz soldier. Saying maybe you're just too little could have been Amethyst masking this insecurity through Sugilite.
Yep, that's me. Always huge, never small, all the time. You're small.
That being said, Ruby and Sapphire have immense love for each other, which translates to Garnet's love for herself.
I like me.
This self-love may overshadow some aspects of Amethyst's insecurities.
Are you insecure about your relationships and how you're perceived by other people?
No. Yes?
As a result, it's not so easy to tell if Sugilite's confidence is genuine. Amethyst really struggled with her identity. It's evident in the Slinker episode. This is probably why Amethyst is known for her constant shape-shifting. She has a tendency to lose herself in a persona. We see this firsthand with Purple Puma. Sugilite was yet another persona Amethyst lost herself in. But let's take the spotlight off of Amethyst a little bit and discuss Ruby and Sapphire.
Finally.
Ruby's input is pretty straightforward. Sugilite inherits her short temper and brash attitude as well as her firepower. She's able to generate fire when she twists her arms together. Sapphire is stoic. She often maintains a neutral expression and doesn't easily show extreme emotions, but she does have a wild side. I believe Sugilite serves as an escape for Sapphire, allowing her to display her repressed emotions. Sugilite may possess a toned-down version of Sapphire's precognition that helps with navigation. She was able to find her way back to Beach City, all the way from the middle of the desert without the warp pad, or maybe the gems just already knew their way around.
Get this junk off my beat.
If you watched that scene and wondered what that bench ever did to Sugilite, you're not alone. Remember when I said Sugilite amplifies Amethyst's character traits? Well, that includes her extreme possessiveness.
Ugh! This is my stuff you're messing with! If it's gonna get wrecked, I'm gonna be the one to wreck it!
She may have a slight hoarding problem. Sugilite referring to the beach as hers shows you the extent to which this trait has been magnified. I bet if Sugilite stayed long enough, she'd have turned the world into her empire. Amethyst isn't just possessive of her own stuff, other people's as well. Like when she was hunting Steven down to eat his
Balanced breakfast?
I would go as far as saying she's possessive of people too, like when she was coercing Greg to spend time with her. Sugilite is the only crystal gem fusion that has been seen to attack a teammate. This is clearly from Amethyst. She has on separate occasions attacked both Garnet and Pearl. Steven as well, but that was more of a training thing. Let's see what her gem placements tell us about her. The chest is often associated with emotions and instincts. This placement emphasizes the emotional intensity that Amethyst brings to the fusion. The gems on her palms symbolize action and power, as hands are used for physical interaction and manipulation of the world around them. The combination of these gem placements highlights Sugilite's physical prowess and raw energy. When you mix power and emotional volatility, you get the intense attributes of Sugilite. I did some research on the symbolism of the Sugilite gemstone and found a write-up that talked about how this gemstone inspires you to behave more bravely and fearlessly, to pursue your interests and to embrace your values. That kind of checks out, because if there's one thing we know about her, it's that she's fearless. The gems have come a long way from the start of the show, facing their demons and dealing with insecurities. That leads me to believe that if we ever get to see Sugilite again, she'll come out more wholesome. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want them to take away her feisty persona. I thoroughly enjoyed her quick-witted comebacks and charisma. That's one of the reasons I found her so cool, but maybe make it so she's less likely to lose control. If you want me to keep making videos like this, then you should subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss a single video. Leave a like and comment. I'd love to hear your opinions. Before I forget, thank you guys for 4,000 subscribers. Special shout out to these users. You guys have been quite active. Most of the videos I have on my channel right now are on Steven Universe, just because I have a lot to say about the show. I do plan on covering more shows. Hopefully you guys aren't just here for Steven Universe, and hang around for everything else. See you in the next one.